I'm probably gonna delete the last video because apparently the audio wasn't coming through, which I don't know why. My phone sucks. Like I literally unplugged my cable from my radio so that it doesn't connect that way. I turned my Bluetooth off so it doesn't connect through my Bluetooth, so the audio would come through. And it was not coming. It was apparently the sound wasn't coming through, which I just blabbed about something that really is not that interesting anyway. But um, so if people come in, hopefully this problem is solved. But I'm just gonna keep going and I'm gonna wait to see if people comment and tell me if my audio is corrected or not. But but yeah, I mean trying to teach kids in a school setting with so many different methods. I I mean some of the stuff my sister tells me about all the different methods they use not only for teaching the kid but disciplining the kid. And it's so individualistic in schools now that there is no sense of like of a universal approach. There's never like, okay, I don't really care how one kid responds to this form of discipline. The discipline that I have is going to be the same across the board, or the way that I teach is going to be the same across the board. Now, you have a teaching style specific. Oh, there you are. Okay, you can hear me, dude. Okay, great. My phone sucks. I don't understand. I did nothing different. I just started the video, a new video. So, man, I spurred out about a lot of probably not uber interesting stuff, conditioning, behavioral conditioning, trying to train and condition dogs, and how that's similar to training and conditioning babies as a parent. And then it got into nutrition and how much of a guarantee uh weight loss is, like fat loss when you follow, you're consistent, all this kind of stuff, whatever. It was way more interesting, I promise, the first time, but the problem is none of you could hear it, obviously. So it can't be that interesting. I wouldn't know if I can't hear it. But the latest thing that I was talking about is all the different methods that teachers use nowadays about how to teach individual kids in school, or having certain disciplinary uh, methods um, based on specific kids, and how unreasonable it is to put that on teachers, where you have, a method for kinesthetic learners versus audio, or what's the word, um you know kids that learn more by listening, and uh all these different methods. And it's so unrealistic that you'll be able to teach anything effectively if you have to care about how each individual kid responds to your specific form of teaching. Like, I mean, there's so many logistical problems with that. One is that you have to actually know whether or not what all the kids' teaching or learning styles are, and which means there's certain tests that you have to give them to determine that. Um, that's problematic. Certain kinds of information may not even fit any of those learning styles. If someone's hands-on and they're learning philosophy, well, that's gonna be a struggle for you. I think a better solution is, let's move you out of philosophy into mechanics or robotics, just you know, and smaller classrooms. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's ample amounts of data on this. Um, and there's so many variables that deal with this. But stop, please. Why am I stopping? Um, the reality is you're going to have some kids that just don't get certain things, and it requires more, trying to meet with the kid that's struggling after class or get them additional resources. But you can't just slow the class down because there's a couple kids that, for example, they might not be visual learners or something. And you're not just going to abandon the rest of the class simply because there's two kids that don't get your form of teaching. Like, well, that make obviously teachers would have to make note of that because you don't want any kids to not understand something. But the reality is some of those factors are outside of your control. How much are they working with material behind the scenes? Are their parents reinforcing good habits that would in theory give them a better knowledge and understanding of the things that they're learning? Those are very you can't deal with bad parents, or you can't correct bad parenting. You're not supposed to do that because, I mean, you're a teacher, you're not a parent, ideally, even though today there's really not that much of a distinction. But because now teachers are not only teaching kids their respective subject, whether it be math or science or literature, English, whatever, but they're also teaching them certain habits that they should have already had developed, that were developed by their parents. And so now you have to teach a whole new set of information to kids, which takes away from the actual subject at hand. And that's counterproductive. It's not your responsibility. And now public schools, for example, just want glorified babysitters as their teachers that know something enough to keep the kid interested in uh, long enough for, a regular school day. It's like, that's why we're stupid. Um, it just is what it is. The systemization of education is kind of impossible puzzle to solve, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's, and I was kind of getting the reason I brought this up was just talking about methods generally when you're trying to um, produce a certain favorable outcome. Um, with weight loss, for example, this is what I was talking about before. There are certain non-negotiables of losing body fat. It doesn't really matter what method you employ in order to do that, but there's more effective approaches. Bro, I almost hit my car. There's more effective approaches than others. There's approaches that give you very short-term success but long-term failure. And so the value of that method is not great because that method can't withstand the test of time. But there's more sober approaches that are actually easier to implement every single day, that can lead to a lifestyle change. It's nothing radical. Like, people get on those one meal a day diets, and that can, I'm not saying there aren't benefits associated with that kind of diet. The problem is for 80% of people that are on those, it's not sustainable. There's life is fast and always evolving and changing. And one meal a day is great if you have a very repetitive life, um, a very consistent life where you can control the variables around you and not much changes, but that's not realistic, especially once you have kids. And so it's not uber sustainable. And so the value of the method itself is contingent on longevity, for example. Um, and that's why if you're ever trying to get better at something to produce a good outcome, and I don't always follow this myself, but this is kind of a realization I've had. When I lost a bunch of fat specifically and I was doing body recomposition, I just found out what my maintenance was. It was 2,500 calories a day with my height and weight, my age, and my activity level, which you can find online, and it's not going to be a perfect. The numbers aren't going to be perfect and exact, but they're going to be close enough for you to get where you need to go. And then I subtracted about 300 to 500 calories from that, and I was trying to hold to an 80% consistency with that throughout the week. 80% is huge margin of growth from 0% of what I was doing before. Um, Even if you counted calories, for example, for half the week, there's all those associative habits, positive habits um, that are embedded in just counting calories for half a week. It's going to demand new skills. It's going to demand like a natural um awareness of things that you should be doing that make it easier for you for the week. And those compound, and you actually start to eat that way, 3/4 of the week. And then over time, you start doing it for couple weeks out of the month, and it compounds. But it's not like a overnight immediate solution, but it has way more return on investment. Um, because you're investing a little at a time, which is going to compound over time, and obviously the longer that you uh, feed into it, the more thing that was small that you put in compounds into something big later on. And so, um, people get on they get on these like fad diets, and yeah, sure, you might lose 40 pounds in 3 months, whatever, doing one meal a day. They don't talk about the negatives associated with it, the fact that you're probably not going to get enough protein because that puts a demand on uh, all of your protein you're going to have is now, instead of being um, divided amongst 3 or 4 meals, is now you have to get it all in one meal. And if you're a bigger dude, if you're 5'10" to 6 foot, whatever, in that general range, let's say you weigh 200 pounds. Well, you need to get, about 75% of a gram of protein per pound ish. So if you're getting, let's say I'm 200 pounds and I get about 170 grams of protein a day, right? That's what I need in order to retain muscle mass while I'm cutting and losing body fat. Now you have to get that if you're doing one meal a day. In one meal, you know how hard it is to stomach even 50 grams of protein in a meal? It's hard. It's extremely hard. And that puts another demand that, first of all, eating that much protein requires what? That it tastes good enough to do that so that you actually eat the required amount of protein in that meal, which means you have to cook better food and you have to think about all those variables, unless you're a weirdo and can just, some people can do that. I kind of did that myself, just eating, less than stellar meals. But who cared, But I will tell you this, if it tasted better, it would be a lot easier and it would be a lot more sustainable long term to eat that much protein. But if you're only doing that for one meal a day, bruh, that's not sustainable, and a lot of people would get sick. I mean, 170 grams of protein in one meal is ridiculous. Like, um, now again, people say, well, you know, to answer the critic, couldn't you still retain muscle mass um, if you ate less protein in that one meal? It's like, yeah, but that's a matter of, are you lifting heavy enough when you're at the gym? Are you lifting consistently enough? And that's hard to do. It's hard to lift heavy consistently and not, well, one, overeat. Um, so there's all these like negative and positive reinforcements baked into that. And so I was kind of relating that back with um if people are seeking methods for their own sake, just having different methods to solve a problem or produce a favorable outcome in and of itself is stupid to me. Um, the whole point, in my opinion, of having different methods and experimenting with different things is to figure out the best way to do something. I mean, what else? Now you could say there's something interesting in and of itself about what different methods produce or how you respond to them or whatever. Okay, I guess that's fine. But in terms of weight loss, the whole point that you're trying to employ any method is for that, so that it would be effective. No one seeks a different way to lose weight because they like the idea of doing a different diet just to lose. Not usually. In my mind, it seems like, well, when you switch from eating what you were normally to switching to a vegetarian diet or whatever, you thought that there was value in the method. You didn't just change diets simply because the changing of diets is valuable in and of itself. Um, but with the mechanism being to do that high yield of bookwork in college. But by that time, I had already negatively reacted and resisted mounting homework or bookwork. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Eating that much protein in one day, even across multiple meals, will make me shit a brick. Yeah, I mean, 170 grams of protein is no joke, period. Now, your body gets more efficient at metabolizing it and digesting it. Um, Initially, it's horrible, but the longer you're in a cut, your body craves protein. Your body craves simple nutrients that it can metabolize for usable energy. Um, and I know I felt that. I mean, the longer I was in the cut, the more uh the more I could eat stuff that didn't taste that great, but I knew gave me good macronutrients because my body didn't care at that point. It was, I mean, cutting is like your body dying. Your body thinks it's literally dying. It's like all of our normal usable energy is being depleted, and we need to eat now or we'll die. That's if you know. And so, certain fuel that you put in your body, like protein, forces your body to work harder to break down. I think. I could be wrong about that, but I think protein takes longer to digest and it takes more calories. It takes more of a caloric expenditure to actually burn it off because it's more dense. And I think don't y- look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Um, Whereas if you eat, a bunch of um, carbs make you feel full initially, but burn off fairly quickly after you eat. I think, at least compared to protein. And so yeah, I mean, people love having different methods, or not even different methods. They're not even methods. They're really fads. It's more of a social thing. People feel like they're virtuous if they're not eating animals. Obviously vegans and all that crap, which is stupid. But um, and they just think it's clean, and they think da da da. Look at me, I'm a vegetarian, and like I don't care. I don't care that you're a vegetarian. Congratulations. Do you want an award for that, or uh? And so yeah, they don't. None of it. Yeah, you can lose a lot of weight on really any diet that restricts you of calories. Duh. I mean, if you're burning more than you're taking in, then you're gonna lose weight. Now, not all weight loss is the same, especially not for dudes. You don't want to lose a lot of muscle mass, and people in general. Muscle mass is critical, especially as you get older. Um, Once your muscles deteriorate and weaken, you're cooked. You're cooked. So, um, and I need to get back to it too. I've been eating like a fat boy for a long time. So, but yeah, they buy all these expensive lifting equipment, and they get on these fad diets and all that stuff, and the solution is a lot simpler than that, which is basically cutting calories and working out, doing strength training multiple days a week. Doesn't have to be 6 days. You can literally do it 3 days, 45 minutes. You don't If you're working out pretty intensely, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, you will be in really good shape. I mean, that's like, and the commitment isn't crazy. Is it easier to do that or harder to do that than it is to eat 175 grams of protein in one meal for an indefinite period of time? No. You're going to do that maybe 3 months to 6 months out of the year, maybe for most people. And then you're never going to do that again. Um, and there's even easier ways to uh, be in decent shape that don't require you to count calories. Um, you just need to know that you need to be more active than you are sedentary, and you need to be burning more energy than you are consuming it. Um, that's and there's very easy habits that you can do that incentivize an active lifestyle, which has compound levels of attached skills and habits to those things that keep you in a cycle that's really good for you. I mean, we're just habit machines. Our bodies are pretty good at maintaining lean mass. Um, yeah, I mean, with the right inputs, they are. Um, but most people don't have good inputs. Most people have bad habits. Um, most people are sedentary. I mean, most people um, um, are attracted to things that are immediate, that have no long term benefit or sustainability. Um, like if you're very gradually cut calories, like 100, 200 per day, you really shouldn't lose lean muscle mass unless you, yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, the rate of muscle loss is contingent on how extreme the cut is and or um well, it's there are way more factors than these, but um you know, what kind of training you do. So if you don't do strength training and you're cutting out 200 calories a day, eventually it's going to be at a decently slow rate. But like runners, for example, um, they're burning so many calories and they don't have enough muscle mass to tell the body to not, um, like, how do I describe it? Your body is going to basically use whatever energy source it can to burn from, and this is why body fat recomposition. Um, you want to lift heavy weights, moderate to heavy weights, to tell your body to not burn energy from muscle and to burn it from the available fat that you have already. Um, but if you don't have any muscle mass in your cutting, then you probably should. Um, there's different debates on whether you should bulk first or you should cut first and all this kind of stuff. It's probably better to bulk first, depending on how big you are. So you start building enough muscle, and if you're a noob, then you'll probably have some muscle gain mixed in with fat loss. But yeah, if you don't lose it, you will lose it. If you don't use it, you will lose. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And it doesn't require you to it doesn't require you to do much to retain it. Um, insofar as you're semi-active, you go to the gym, work out, strength train. Again, it doesn't have to be anything over 45 minutes. You can do a lot of damage in 45 minutes. Like good damage, oxymoronically. Oxymoronically. Especially psychological. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I remember when I was playing football in high school, like my metabolism was like at an equilibrium where I was burning a shit ton of calories every day, but I was consuming a shit ton of calories every day, and that was ideal. Um, that usually does lead you to like mild and slow muscle gain over time. You're gonna obviously put on a little fat too, but that's how you get big. I mean, uh, and that is ideal. That's great. Where you burn a whole bunch of energy and you replenish it with a whole bunch of energy, and you're like, okay, it's this cycle. And that's all the metabolism is the rate of efficiency of um, breaking down energy, um, and basically making use of energy or um, uh, burning available energy, converting it into kinetic, whatever you want to call it. It's that kind of game. Um, and so your metabolism is basically your life source in many ways. It's you know, um, your general energy levels are dependent on your metabolism. Um, neurochemically, your ability to think clearly and to use your brain, which requires a lot of energy, will be uh, f- uh, you know, um, contingent on your metabolism. And there's so many factors. I mean, the body is a massive system with a bunch of components working together that either have positive outputs or negative outputs. Um, yeah, yeah. Wanted the perfect thing. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of fun. I'll tell you though, like it was kind of fun to. I mean, I tracked calories and I did that for and macros for um 6 months, and I got by far in the best shape of my life. And I know the blueprint now if I wanted to replicate it and do it again. Um, but as I'm getting older, I realize that I'm, getting ready to get married, probably gonna have kids in the foreseeable future. And so I need to adapt my method based upon my environment. That's and if my environment's constantly in flux, then I can't also be in flux because it's not going to produce anything consistent. Duh. Um, from disorder comes more disorder. Like that's just what's going to happen. But if my environment is kind of chaotic and there's a lot of variables, a lot of factors moving around, I'm active, doing this, doing that, then I need to have some system where um, I'm making good choices with the food that I put in my mouth and trying to stay active, trying to go to the gym semi consistently and that part is kind of fun experimenting with things and fine tuning the system a little bit. Um and it's kind of weird though because when I was doing that, I could get very dialed in. Uh Everywhere else, I'm not very dialed in the same way. I would say at work that's where that mentality comes in where I'm aware of the system, aware of what's going on around me and how it's operating and all that kind of stuff. But my personal life, unless I'm really like invested in something, I don't really apply that to anything else. Like, making sure my house is organized and clean. Like if I need to do that, I can do it. I don't really care that much about the system though, because it's not interesting. It doesn't there's nothing that gets me out of bed that makes me want to make sure my house is flowing or in an orderly way, I guess. Like it's just a very specific, which I think is true for anyone. I mean, whatever you're naturally interested in and want to do is going to put a demand on organization. Like in order for you to accomplish the thing that you want to do, you know that there's certain prerequisites um that you have to practice consistently for you to get to that point. um but trying to do the mundane, making sure I have morning routine and da 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 da. You're like, I did that for a little bit, and there's something enjoyable about it. But um, at a certain point, it just gets exhausting. What really matters is that you keep doing challenging things and do it for a long time within reason. Yeah, I mean, simply put, yeah, do things that challenge you, do things that um, pick up new skills. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I'm pretty type B, I would say, as a person. Kind of live and let live unless someone pisses me off and they, you know, say something stupid. But for the most part, I don't really get into it with people. I'm not really interested in getting into it with people or like stuff doesn't really like shake me up like where I have to uh but again, I can't have a temper in certain situations. But, you know, um but at work it's different because well, I'm getting paid to do this. Two, I could either do this in a way that doesn't suck, which is doing it well, because if I don't do it well, it's going to suck more than it does. Not that I don't like the work, but uh, thankfully I'm leaving FedEx, which will be nice, and I'll be doing something that sounds a lot more enjoyable. And So hopefully I won't have to have the same level. I mean, I'm gonna be have to be organized, um, but yeah, that's the only time that I ever feel like I need to be uber organized and basically. But yeah, I mean, in school was not. Yeah, dude, I'm starting a 5-year HVAC apprenticeship. So really pumped about that. I've been talking about it for a while. I never pulled the trigger, and I'm excited to get into the trades and actually have a skill that's valuable and that's useful, and I can help people out with all their AC and heating needs, which is um this message is held for review. Oh, so, yeah. So yeah, man, I'm pretty excited about that, and I've never really done anything super hands on. I mean, FedEx is hands on, but it's not. It's low skill. I mean, you're just dropping a box off at a house. And I never really grew up doing anything with my hands like constructively. I was doing certain things out of boredom with my hands. I was kind of mischievous little kid, bored little kid, and so it'll be fun to kind of learn HVAC systems, and I think and be able to use that, and hopefully, I mean, obviously with my HVAC, I'll be able to understand and fix things, and which is sick. So and helps me get out of my head. It's a thing where it demands focus on exactly what's happening in front of you because there's 240 volts going through a system, and if you're not paying attention, that'll that'll sting a little bit. So especially if you're in commercial HVAC where the voltage is probably significantly higher and the system is way more complex than a residential unit. So which they are, commercial HVAC systems are, bruh, there's wires going everywhere. You don't know what's connected to what. You know, you turn off the power to it, but still is holding a charge. And I mean, there's so much, there's so much like that can go wrong. So the demand for focus is way higher, especially if you could seize up and die. Not that you would. I mean, I'm sure some commercial HVAC units could definitely put a good shock to you. My brother did for a minute. Went to school for it. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, man. Um, yeah, it was a long process. I mean, I had to go through a local union and take like an aptitude test. I had to get interviewed by the committee. There was a there was so many people um that were at the aptitude test, and they only took like 15 HVAC guys this year. So it was pretty competitive. Um, and a whole bunch of red tape and bureaucracy, which slows everything down. And especially because I'm working for the union, so he's SLE too. Yeah, that's sweet, man. That's dope. Yeah, it's a pretty long process, but again, coming from FedEx where your training entails uh can you drive? Yeah. Do you kind of know where you're going some of the time? Yeah. All right. Can you lift heavy stuff most of the time? Yeah. All right. Well, can you take 175 of these boxes and drop them off at people's houses? Yep. Think I got it. All right. Well, here's your truck on the second day. You're like, oh, all right. Throw me to the wolves. So, and it doesn't require that much training, obviously, because the nature of it. But HVAC is way more training focused, and but yeah, so that'll be fun too. Learning what you're doing, why you're doing it, how to do it better. If you don't do it in this way, this is the repercussions, and the repercussions can entail severe shock. So you're naturally going to be like, well, I should probably lock in because I really don't want to get electrocuted, and so I should probably. The last spot I was at training that needed to be done was actually pretty extensive, and they didn't train you to do shit. Are you talking about an HVAC or are you talking about just the last training you did at your job? There's a lot of places like that. Um, there's a few jobs I've had that were like that, and the one job really did require good training, and I didn't really get much of it. Yeah, I worked at a in high school, like right out of high school or in college. I was college at the time. I was working at a drill manufacturer, and we were like cutting drills and laser etching them and all this kind of stuff. Or like it was like either drills or like drill bits or not even drill bits. It was some kind of metal work. I can't remember what it was, but we were cutting. I think they were. I think they were drill. I can't remember, but it was some metal manufacturer or whatever. And there's this big machine that cuts the piece of metal on both sides. It puts like a little edge or angle on it or whatever. And the guy showed us how to do it once, and then was like, "You guys got it?" Me and my best friend were like, "No, what?" And just left us. And then we start effing up the, we start effing him up. And he came back and he's like, "These are bad." We're like, "What'd you expect? You showed us once. What I've never worked this piece of machinery ever. Uh, this is you're basically seeing the fruit of your investment, which was nothing." So I was preparing and serving food, some of the most disgusting shit. Yeah, that would be I could see how not having good training on that would not be would be challenging for sure. It's actually pretty extensive, the list of shit you need to know. Wasn't the kind of place that you just threw shit in the oven. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. And it's probably, I mean, working in the food industry is very probably, fast paced and, you know, everything was made from scratch. Good, bro. Yeah, that's crazy. That's nuts. Yeah, there's a lot of places like that. And that's why I'm pumped to be in the union because they don't, um, they have so many incentives for training their apprentices well. And reinforcements built in for that. Um, and there's just a lot of natural competition. I've been talking about that with my fiance and everything. Like after you leave the contractor you work for, let's say at the end of your apprenticeship, there's no necessary obligation to stay with your contractor that trained you in your apprenticeship. Some people are like, that's scap. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, because for the same reason that you left your job for a higher paying job. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do that. All I'm saying is that because I work for a union and after I complete my apprenticeship, it puts a lot more value on the apprentice. One, because the contractor they worked for their apprenticeship doesn't want to lose the person they invested in. And so obviously that puts more incentive and more control into the apprentice to be like, well, I'm a journeyman now or a serviceman, whatever. I'm post apprenticeship. This place over here recognizes my value, and so do you because that's why you don't want me to leave. Well, obviously, I mean, if it's a good place that you're working for, then there's no reason for you to leave. But if some other contractor comes along and they're offering you $10 more an hour, it's like, uh, okay, well, this seems to be my value. Can you match that? If you match it, I'll stay. Boom, testing the market done. Um, yeah, I mean, there's certain benefits that unions provide. There's certain negatives as well, but I've never been in a structured work environment um nearly as much as the union will be. And I've worked for FedEx who they don't invest in their drivers whatsoever. Every decision they make is, and I'm not trying to be all Marxist, like, well, it's the top 1%, but you can invest in your employee. Capitalism can breed investing in employees. It can. I don't know why it doesn't. Because if the employee doesn't like the working conditions, in theory, they can leave. Now, you could say that's not in practice, it doesn't actually happen, whatever. There's multiple places you can deliver. And at some real level, if those places aren't competitive, and then they won't succeed. And You don't think that there's been a bunch of FedEx drivers that have tried to and have left FedEx Ground for UPS, FedEx Express before they're starting the merge? A ton of them have. And that's just a natural response. You see someone else doing the same job you're doing with better incentives, benefits, pay, why would you not leave? Well, the company has, if there's enough of those people that leave for those better paying jobs, um, the company is going to be forced to do something different in order to retain good drivers. But FedEx runs on a completely contrary system. Their system is low investment, high turnover, which reduces the price of every cost in their system. It reduces the cost the cost to pay drivers because contractors aren't getting paid enough money in order to pay top quality drivers. Um, and yeah, I could go on about that. Benefits produced, benefits produce more productive capitalism. Yeah, you don't need to be a slaver to be otherwise. Yeah, good point, man. That's a good point, bro. Yeah, bro. Um, yeah, I mean, there's no perfect approach. There's definitely better approaches than others in regards to, labor philosophy and whatever you want to call it, labor force philosophy. I don't know, um, but I'm geeked though because yeah, there's so many more benefits. There's way more long term return. There's higher training. There's guarant way better outputs because of that. And productivity and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I'm not complaining about it. I'm gonna benefit from it. And I'll be wearing my HVAC. Yeah. I'll be freaking singing that one song. What's that song? It's like a uh my collar, well, my collar's blue, but my neck is red. Boy, I'm gonna be wearing all my HVAC gear. You're gonna be seeing me making videos on my service calls. Believe it, I will do that. I will do it. Um, I might even make a separate HVAC channel once maybe when I graduate or whatever, like, because that could be kind of interesting. But uh, my collar's blue, but my neck is red. Something keeping my family fed. Nah, man, they have another color. I forget. I mean, they are blue. Like, it is a blue collar job. I don't know if there's certain collar colors for certain trades, but either way, it is a blue collar, because I think blue collar just means like labor, like manual labor force, or the manual laborers. Uh, you know, it's gray. Interesting. Yeah, well, I don't know the whole history of the phrase, but oh, gray collar, specialized blue collar work that you need to have a brain for. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's weird though. I mean, we go to the same. I mean, we're a part of. I mean, there's different unions for like pipe fitting, I think, and plumbing, but we all took the same test. We all took the same test. I was talking to other dudes. This dude over here, Gunner, he's a pipe, or no, he's a plumber. There was a bunch of, well, there was actually a lot of HVAC people, but I never. There was 110 people in my class for the aptitude test. Most of the people around me were plumbers, uh, but I think a lot of everybody else was HVAC, if I had to guess. But not a lot of pipe fitters. That does not that did not catch a lot of people's attention. Um but yeah, man. Uh yeah, I was trying to think about what else I was talking about. But people get Yeah, everybody gets geeked about different methods. It's kind of interesting. I was thinking about that too with this is kind of random, but shooting form in basketball. And I realized this as I got older. Like I used to have a kind of not a wacky shooting form in basketball, but like trying to keep your elbow tucked so that your arms in line with the rim. That is very common sense and obvious. And people underplay how effective it is. It's like, yeah, I mean, the more in line with the rim you are, the better you increase your chance of making the shot. And I start doing this, and even now I start shooting with I really try to keep my elbow tucked when I'm playing basketball. And I'm a way better shot now than I was when I was in school. And I'm like, yeah, because I actually am doing what I was told to do that I am doing too late. Just funny. It's like the basics, the fundamentals are underplayed. Um, and everybody's an individualist now. Everybody, well, Johnny doesn't like to shoot that way. Well, that's why Johnny is shooting 15% from the field. That's why Johnny couldn't make a shot if you shot it for him. He can't shoot because his form sucks. Everyone knows this. I don't care about what's comfortable for Johnny. Well, clearly, failure is what's comfortable for Johnny right now. Like, so you're telling me what's comfortable for Johnny is not being able to shoot the basketball successfully. I think we should discomfort Johnny so that he can actually shoot well. You know? Yeah, there's no doubt. You can get obsessive about it. I mean, I did that in baseball with my hitting stance and all that, which I started overthinking it too much. What I've learned is you need simple cues um that train your body to get into the position it needs to be in. It doesn't have to be in the perfect position. It needs to be close to um a good, reliable form. Like I'm not always going to get my elbow parallel with the basket or tucked under my underarm and perfectly straight. But I just need to keep the cue if I catch wherever I catch the ball to start keeping this side of my arm tight. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm increasing my chances of making the shot every single time that I do that. Um, and then you just shoot the ball. My problem with baseball is that I'd spend hours in the backyard trying to perfect my swing, and I'd have a million cues that I'm trying to be aware of instead of swinging. My dad would tell me, just swing the fucking bat, just swing the bat. Um, a middle ground between just swing the effing bat and I have 1,000 cues to get in form is have, three cues that you use to keep your body in the position it needs to be to hit a baseball consistently. There are certain things that if you don't do, if you're pulling your head out of the box every time you swing the bat, you're not going to hit it because you can't see it. So that's something to keep, very minimal cues. Um, I was watching a video essay about javelin throwing, and the guy was talking about precision and accuracy. Yeah, that stuff is interesting. Like, highly experienced throwers would have plenty of little errors, right, with every single throw, but they would instinctively form correct by the end of the motion. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's muscle memory. And if you have a bunch of little errors here and there, you're still more accurate overall. You're closer to the center, even with a bunch of little errors, but your form is intact 85%. So hopefully, the more that you perfect it, the more you're trying to, and like you said, even by the end of the motion. So because they've built fundamental mechanics in their form, it's self-correcting, which is like, okay, well that means that you have good form. But if you have bad form, there is no correction. There is no at the end of the movement, it just fixes itself because everything is out of whack. Um, and so if you do make the shot, it's literally out of luck and it's not going to be replicatable, or you're not going to recreate it. You're still going to be shooting 20% from three. Um, so My collar's blue, but my neck is red. Like it reminds me of sim racing, like the line can be perfected. But ultimately, if you get the car's weight balance stable, you can exit the curve full gas. Yeah, that's the hard part, bro. I was doing that over at full throttle not too long ago, and I was going slow as hell. I could not get it. I don't know why. It was frustrating me because I always felt when I took those turns, I didn't feel like I could take them full speed, and I was getting dusted, and it was pissing me off. I was like, when do I? I didn't realize like when I should be braking. I was trying to brake just a little bit before I hit the curve, and then accelerate, or you know, I was getting dusted. Yeah, bro. And then my friends were telling me they were like, "Yeah, bro. Last time I did this, I hit my head." My friends like, "I hit my head on the pole." I'm like, "All right, bro." Like, and it's harder. Yeah, I mean, that was that was nuts. We did like go karting, which was fun, but you definitely have to learn like how to stabilize the cart and use your weight the right way and all that kind of stuff. My collar's blue, but my neck is red. Um, think of what else. What else am I talking about here? Really matters how you feather and press the gas. Yeah, it does. Like my friend, they were taking it full. I'm like, how are you guys not spinning out, bro? I don't get it. Yeah, it was pissing me off. I was trash. I don't like. I don't like being trash and stuff too. I was like, this is not fun. I'm gonna say, oh yeah, y'all laughing. Send me on the court. Like, you're a sore loser when you lose in something, and then you challenge people and things you're good at. You're like, all right, oh, okay, let's go play basketball. Let's go play basketball. Let's see what y'all talk about then. You're like, okay. You're like, I'm distracting you. No, you're not. This is really an unguided. It's ending better than it started. It started with me talking about stuff that probably was not interesting, and God muted the chat because he didn't want to kill you guys with uninteresting stuff to listen to. I was talking about conditioning. We already kind of talked about a little bit dogs and how to train dogs and train babies and all that kind of stuff. But that is fun. Training in general is a fun thing. Having something that's challenging that you train for consistently. That was the most fun part, I will say. Growing up was not even the game. I don't know, which is weird. The most fun part of being in sports for me was just the process of training. I don't know why it was harder for me. I feel like I got more challenge out of training uh my own training than I did someone competing against me. Um Almost by the time I got to the game it would just be uninteresting or just kind of like Um but the process of training itself was very enjoyable, making it harder and harder. I used to do stupid shit. I mean, for basketball especially, I mean, I would be shooting. It'd be 95 degrees. I would put ankle weights on my ankles, set up the trash cans as defenders, try to go around. I mean, trying to shoot 500 shots a day, and that's no exaggeration. I would count the shots. Me and my friend would count. We need to make 100, 300 shots a day. I mean, it was like obsessive. Um, Shooting in the cold and the snow, putting, a winter jacket on and just shooting. with my, I mean, that's all I remember doing growing up was training constantly. Um, and I kind of missed that. I've thought about getting into some um uh uh you know like jujitsu or boxing, or even though I got like a punching bag a while ago that I was using and watching YouTube videos, and just the process of sweating, the process of learning a skill that you can actually use, that's just very fun. Um it's mentally stimulating. especially if you're fighting, because you'll get punched in the face. So yeah, it does. It does mess, and it's also like I played so much sports so consistently. I mean, in baseball, I played select baseball, had aspirations of playing college baseball, so we were playing baseball or any sport, basketball, um, every multiple times a week. Practice, my own practice, games, double headers. I just did it for so long that it just got boring. It was just like not interesting. It became a job. It just wasn't fun anymore. But um, you can get burnt out. I mean, from the time that I was probably, I don't know, t-ball to 18 years old, it was sports virtually all year long, training certainly all year long. Um, yeah, constant. Like playing guitar for a room of people and having them all be really impressed, and I'm like, sounded so much better in practice. Yeah, for sure, because that's a different threshold people don't talk about, and it's like it's hard. There's something there where translating work, the work that you've done in practice into the game. People always say perfect practice or practice makes perfect. I think Michael Jordan said, or it's either Michael Jordan or my dad. I can't remember. 'Cause my dad would say this, and I don't know if he got it from. I think it was Michael, but who knows? I've heard it said by someone. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice perfectly or close to it, um, then that means you'll be perfect in execution or whatever. That idea. But there's still a gap between practicing really well and having that translate into the game, which you can, if you do exhibitions or you do constructive of what are they called? Like we do this in basketball. What is it called? Scrimmages, or like where you get live action. If you're in baseball, getting live at bats. That's where you practice what you practiced. No one talks about that part too. Um, Practicing the things that you specific. If I'm doing a move in basketball that I only do in practice that works, and I know how to do it, but I never practiced that move in the game, what's the value of practicing the move to begin with? There's no point. And that was the threshold sometimes I couldn't cross. Sometimes I get a little hesitant actually when the game started to do these moves for variety of reasons. Fear of your coach pulling you out or scolding you or doing all this or that. So there's some psychological confidence related struggle in athletes of how to translate the things they've practiced in the game. And that can come down to coaching. My dad, you know, coached me in basically every sport and did give us a lot more freedom than we would experience in like high school sports or whatever. But um, players that are really skilled and talented, you have to coach them somewhat differently, I would imagine. You need to give them the green light where you give them a little bit more room for failure in one sense and not another. In one sense, you want them to challenge themselves to take certain shots they wouldn't otherwise, or you want to keep their confidence up because I mean, that's the name of the game. You saw it with, if you're interested in NBA, with Bronny James. Um, when he went down to the G League, he's playing a bunch of bums for the most part. He's still LeBron James' son. He has le jeans. He has le jeans. LeBron James jeans. He can jump through the freaking roof. He has like a 40-inch vertical. Not the biggest guy, has a pretty good shot, good on ball defender. Um, is he NBA caliber? Probably not. With a lot of hard work, maybe. Could be a decent role player, maybe. But his biggest thing was confidence. And he would airball. He didn't know when to shoot. He would overpass, just typical low confidence um, behavior in a game. And so they try to send him down to the G League. So he gained some confidence, shoots shots that he normally wouldn't shoot in the NBA, but feels more confident shooting the G League. And he's starting to get his rhythm a little bit. And um, that's key. And it's hard to translate. Uh, that's another factor people don't talk about is mindset development. um, that should go into uh athletics and preparing yourself for a game and all that stuff. But like, what movie was it? Like one of those old martial arts movies. The apprentice wanted to learn like a thousand death punch or whatever. The master was like, "Why? This is a punch built for one situation. Do the exact punch that is tailored for the situation." Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Um, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, something else I was thinking about. But yeah, that stuff is fun though. The training is fun. Um, interesting how that all works. Dude, I have to take a freaking leak. Gotta take a leak, girl, yeah. Um, good old calories. Yeah, I need to get back in shape. I got a standing desk for one on the computer. That's smart. Yeah, that's very smart. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start freaking going back to the gym because, dude, once you switch over to the trades, bro, people get huge. You burn way more calories standing on it than sitting. Yeah, definitely. You're not killing your body by being seated. Yeah, I did that too a couple years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. I was doing sales and I was sitting at a desk all day, and oh my gosh, dude, that is one thing that I thought I could do better than I could, and I wasn't that great at it for a variety of reasons, but one of them was just how stationary. Oh my gosh, like I definitely need physical work is great for that because you don't have to sit in an office all day and behind a computer. Like that's people that can do that, I commend. Um, it's hard, bro. So that's smart that you're, standing instead of sitting. That helps kind of keep your feet moving and active. Try, somewhat. Yeah, it does. We're just not meant to just be that sedentary and just your back. I mean, I would even get that in my riding in my like in my driver's seat at FedEx all day. I mean, it's active. Obviously, you get up, you know, every minute or so for a stop or a package. But yeah, just sitting there, especially if you're jumping with somebody when you're in the passenger seat and you're running packages for them, which I didn't do that a lot, but I have done it, and it's bruh, that is well, actually, it's worse when you're driving because you don't have to really get up. So the jumper usually goes to find the package, or you just give it to them and they can run to the house, and all you have to do is go find the next one. It's just like you're not really doing a lot. Yeah, I mean, eventually you definitely get used to it, just like anything else, but you definitely would want to have some um some physical work, like doing some workouts or something. Trying to find if there's like a freaking oh, there's a jujitsu place over here. Look at that. That's funny. What are the odds? I think I'll get some more nicotine packs. But yeah, all right, guys. I think I might head out. Good talking to you. I'm gonna delete the other video because that obviously didn't work. So, all right, peace.